Annyeonghaseyo. Hello everybody, welcome to the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour from glorious South Korea. Here we are at the roller coaster circuit, Inje Speedium. What an incredible place to start our Asian leg. Yesterday we had 2 free practice sessions. They were topped by Junwi Park, one of our South Korean entries, and Ted Bjork, but all focus now comes into qualifying, that one-lap showdown. And qualifying is going to set our grid not only for today's race, but also we have 2 races tomorrow. I'll tell you a little bit more about the qualifying format shortly. We've got 22 cars on the grid. 11 of them are the Elantra ends. This is Hyundai's weekend. This is their showdown. This is a very special place. It's their home circuit. And who better to speak to than Mr. Gabriele Tarquini? Now, those of you who were watching or following on yesterday will know that we had a dry circuit yesterday for free practice. But today, the heavens have opened, and that's going to make things slightly different, isn't it? Hello, Gabby.
Hello.
So not only is this a very challenging circuit in the dry, but I assume it's going to be much harder in the wet.
Nobody knows. I mean, except the local, nobody has run with this condition on this track, so it will be a surprise for everybody.
When I spoke to Mikel yesterday, he said that there wasn't really a huge difference even with fresh tyres here. Why was that?
Asphalt is very strange, no grip at all. We're struggling a lot to have the front end grip yesterday. We try to change setup, but now we start from white paper because we need to change all the setup into the rain setup. But data we don't know. So we try to collect data and setup from the past. It seems similar to Zuzu in terms of asphalt, in terms of temperature. So we try to copy past the setup we was using on the China round last year.
Wow, okay, grazie mille. How interesting. Gosh. So, as he said, it's white paper. We don't know what's going to happen. So we've got 22 cars on the grid. We have some TCR Asia contingents joining us. We also have our TCR Aussies who've joined us. Josh Buchan is here. Ryan McMillan. We know that they are forces to be reckoned with. Coming into this weekend, Ted Bjork, it's coming into this weekend, Jan Erleche is 36 points ahead of Esteban Guerrieri, whose gloves are off. And then closely behind him is Ted Bjork. Jan Erleche has had 4 wins and 11 podiums. He has been unstoppable. However, Esteban Guerrieri has not finished lower than about 8th, I think, for the last 3 rounds. So his form is really, really strong as well. Yesterday, Ted Bjork was the man who topped the charts in free practice. We've just heard from Gabriele Tarquini, Ted, that obviously none of you have run in the wet. It's a very different condition today. And also, even fresh tyres yesterday weren't making that much difference, were they, in free practice? What are your feelings and what did you learn from yesterday's session?
What we can bring from yesterday is absolutely nothing.
So what do you do as a team to work out strategy?
Yeah, but that's why everybody is so, on their toes now to be able to deliver a lap time, because it's so important, to qualify, that everybody is like on their toes.
That's crazy. Did you enjoy the circuit? It looks like a bit of a roller coaster out there.
It is a roller coaster every lap, but I enjoy it. It's nice to be here. It's good to be here for Korea for the first time. So. Yeah.
All right, power's on. This man needs to work very hard. He's can't think off the top of my head exactly how many points down, but he wants to win another world championship. So we are piggybacking with the Hyundai Festival. So it's a really important festival for the Hyundais and for South Korea. It's been amazing to be here. A couple of days ago, we had a promo day with our drivers, and we spent the day experiencing some beauties of South Korea. We got to go to the Whispering Wood and get some healing from the Dempster Temple. So it was such a nice start to our weekend. Come round this way. Let's see if we can mooch on down and have a quick word with Esteban Guerrieri before he gets into the car. Speaking to him yesterday, well, actually all of the drivers, they absolutely love what they did experience on free practice. Oh, also nod to Dusan Borkovic, who is here. The very tall human is back. Can't see Esteban at the moment. Hopefully he'll be here very shortly. You can poke your head in if you want to, Eve. Have a look at the car and the steering wheel. Well, let's have a look and chat to Dusan then very quickly. Dusan, welcome back. I think you're growing. So talk to us what your thoughts are of this amazing circuit.
Yeah, the circuit is full of some elevations, like a roller coaster, and very enjoying here with very kind people in South Korea.
How tricky is it going to be now that we've got wet weather?
Yeah, for me especially, since I again didn't drive for a long period of time, and I don't know Honda really good on rain, so it's going to be very tough, but I'll try.
Good. Well, we look forward to seeing how you get on. Still no sign of Esteban. Never mind. Hoping that the weather will change. We've found that actually even over the last... Oh, we might be able to get in and at least observe what his process is. Yeah, we found that yesterday it was really changeable. So while it's obviously very damp now, the actual rain has already cleared, and by this afternoon we might find it sunny. It's like got its own microclimate here in the valleys. Esteban, if I can have a look at his helmet. So he's got Milo written across here. That is his son. Does that mean you've got Sarah on the other side? That's nice. Did they design it?
Sorry? Yeah, ready to go.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
Good, I won't stop you. You keep going. All right. So, yes, everything to play for. 4.2 kilometre circuit, 19 very tricky corners. This long downhill straight down here, this start-finish straight, comes into a very tricky turn one. Heavy braking, but that is the place where overtaking is going to happen. For now, though, qualifying is on. Everything to play for. This is the man that needs to get top spot. Qualifying is very important around this circuit. Let's go. Kaja!
Alex Le Gui down there in pit lane. Thank you very much. Paul Jeffrey up here in the commentary box. And a very warm welcome to you all watching around the world. It's early morning here in South Korea. It's very early morning all around Europe. For those of you that have got up early to watch the racing live, a big congratulations to you all. And to those watching on demand a little bit later on, welcome to the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour. We're about to engage in qualification ahead of rounds 13, 14 and 15 of what has been an incredible season. I'm sure you will all agree. Now, don't let track temperature of 26 degrees centigrade and air of 19 degrees centigrade fool you one iota. The weather here at the Inje Speedium is very poor indeed. The first wet stuff that we've seen all weekend is going to be a bit of a challenge for our cohort of drivers. Speaking of which, here are the 22 stars that will be taking to the field. No less than 8 new drivers in the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour grid this weekend. Some names you may recognise. Jinui Park and Junsung Park from TCR Europe are 2 standout drivers there. Lose Ho is back once again, as are our Australian colleagues Josh Buchan and Ryan McMillan. Additional drivers that we have in the field are Andy Lang as well. Benny Santoso joins us for this weekend, Diego Moran and Che Yong Wei-on as well. And then of course we've got Sean Chang and Rainbert Diwa taking to the 22 car field. A nice stacked field of cars, some drivers that have experience of this wonderful roller coaster circuit, but for the World Tour contingent, absolutely not, especially in these difficult weather conditions. We had a shakedown at the start of the weekend. We had 2 free practice sessions yesterday. But now, my dear viewers, my friends watching on from home, this is the first time a real session of worth and value is taking place here in the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour on Saturday for the very first time. As we go qualifying Q1, 20 minutes, the 10 fastest drivers will make their way through to Q2. And then we'll set the grid for the first racing action of the day that takes place a little bit later on today, 15:45 local time or 6:45 UTC in the morning. A vital qualifying session. Not only are there 15 points on offer, this is going to be a very important session for any driver that's got any aspiration whatsoever of finding themselves in podium contention come the conclusion of race 1 a little bit later on this afternoon. And as we've alluded to, the circuit is greasy. Gabriele Tarquini said it to our own Alex Legui at the top of the show. This is not a track, this is not asphalt that gives up grip easily in the best of conditions. Well, a little bit of wet stuff, or to be frank, a lot of wet stuff has fallen, and that grip is going to be an absolute premium. The Kumho tyres of these TCR cars will be scrabbling for grip around this wonderful 3.9 kilometre 20-turn Inje Speedium racetrack in South Korea. Trip into the unknown, some might say, for the entirety of our field. And I think what it means for you and I watching at home, dear viewer, anybody, upon anybody, could score this pole position today. You've got to look very hard at that man, Josh Buchan, in the HMO Customer Racing Hyundai team. They came in at the bend in Australia on home soil. Very, very impressive indeed, in particular for Josh Buchan, a 4th and a 5th position at the bend. We'll be hoping to go a little bit better and see if we can snag a podium finish. We've got onboard cameras, of course, over the course of this weekend, one of which you're arriving on board with right here and right now. That is Ben, who's your alarm. It just gives you a great indication of the amount of moisture still in the air, still being kicked up by these TCR cars rolling cops as well and truly outside of the racing surface. Nacho Montenegro is the one that makes his way past. And Montenegro, a little bit slow in free practice too, 13th position. Crucially, 1.8 seconds away from the pace. Would that be a cause for concern coming into qualifying if you're the Argentinian driver? Absolutely. But with this rain, with this disruptor coming into this qualifying session, I think it was Ted Bjork said it, wasn't it? Everything we learnt yesterday, completely and utterly worthless. More akin to rallying than touring car racing at this moment in time on track, as all of our drivers have a little squabble around, try and find the most grip available to them. I dare say this could be a session that we're going to see cars purely and simply circulating as much as possible to get the racetrack at the right optimal time to extract the lap time. Jenson Button in Formula 1 always used to say that one. When the conditions are wet, be at the track at the right time on the right tyres. That is going to be the absolute key for these drivers, and you can see from this shot, can't you, just how little grip there is out there on this Inje Speedium race circuit. Some parts of the track significantly drier than others, which just adds to the jeopardy that is facing the 22 World Tour drivers over the course of this first 20-minute section. Let's remember, just 20 minutes in Q1, have a 5-minute break, and then the 10 fastest drivers this weekend will roll into Q2 to set the grid for race number 1. Slightly different format, of course, for this weekend here in Korea. I'll briefly explain that one while we're waiting for the first of the times to roll on in. So qualification that we're watching now will set the grid for race number 1. For race 2, the top 10 from race 1 will be reversed. That will be the starting grid for race number 2. And for the third and final race of the weekend, the combined points from qualifying race 1 and race 2 will form the grid for our third and final encounter, much like we had in the Australian round as well. A little bit more tactics, a little bit more strategy for our drivers to consider, as Marcin Guar briefly went quickest, then Jan Erlichey, and then Ted Bjork beat him to the top of the time. Santiago Arrutia enjoyed that one. He fancies his own little go with a 1 minute 53.450. Quickest driver so far. Expect the times to tumble though, as the circuit starts to give up more and more grip. Mikolav Kona sets his first competitive lap time in the BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corsa team. Worth mentioning to them, they have a new homologation this weekend to BRC. The 3 Hyundais currently campaigned by the Italian squad, and now the Hyundai Elantra N EV TCR. Turbo and map changes for that one. New homologation, new for this weekend, just for the 3 BRC Hyundai drivers. The remaining 8 of the Korean cars are running the previous original generation. As Gabriele Tarquini looks nonplussed, watching on from pit lane, staying dry in the garages. So far so good for that team. Mikolav Kona up there in second position. His teammates, of course, is Nicholas, and looking down my somewhat confusing looking time screen they have here. Norby doesn't seem to be on the timing tower just yet. In fact, I'll lie, it's in 10th position as we watch on. Work under the hood of the Honda machine. Unfortunately, Dusan Borkovic not driven a car for a while, he said, in TCR competition. We haven't seen him since Villarreal, of course, all the way back on the 4th and 6th of July. Didn't make it to the bend last time around in Australia. Good to see the big Serbian driver back in. Go racing Honda Civic FL5 TCR, but unfortunately mechanical gremlins look like they're putting pay to his much needed track time here in South Korea. We'll keep our eye on that one though. If Borkovic can get that car back up and running again, so far doesn't have a time. Another driver that doesn't have a time is Chae Jong Wei-on, currently down in 22nd position. Dramas for the number 3 in free practice too. The car has now had an engine change and hopefully the Hyundai Elantra and TCR will be back out in due course. Conditions on track looking no less favourable, it seems, for our World Tour drivers. We just saw Norbert Miklas making his way through the mist. Norbert still in that 10th position. Esteban Gurrieri now tops the timing sheet with a 52.898. There is Esteban, second in the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour driver standings. Coming into this weekend, 36 points separate himself and our points leader Jan Hurlesche. Let's remember there's 15 points on offer for the quickest driver in qualification. Gurrieri would dearly like that to be him, as Aurelien Comte gets pushed back by the SP competition squad for a new set of Kumho boots. And the 107 will be back out again in due course, I'm sure. Aurelien, as things stand, 16th quickest so far, 2.6 seconds away from the ultimate pace. I'm sure you will all agree with me, is not representative of the French driver's ultimate potential this season. Expect that car to charge forward when a fresh set of boots have been suitably applied, and he goes back out into what I must say is a rather spectacular scene here in Speedium. Wonderful track, very much isolated out in the countryside. My goodness me, does that not look just spectacular with the mist forming over the hills as Aurelien Comte goes off on his merry way to have a skate around this 3.9 kilometre circuit in his bid to go a little bit quicker than current 16th position. Here is Aurelien. Don't worry folks, that's not the racetrack, it's not a street circuit. We're just making our way out of pit lane. You can already see the undulation just on pit exit, can't you? And there we go, Aurelien back on the racing surface. He'll have to make his merry way around for the next 11 minutes and 50 seconds, just like that man, Nacho Montenegro. Not able to find a pace in the 1-2-3. As things stand, Nacho down there in 12th. In fact, elects to come down pit lane and call time on that particular endeavour as Josh Buchan's going quickly. Currently out there on the racetrack, there is Josh right on cue in the number 30. And that is 6th position so far for the HMO Hyundai squad. Great to see Josh and teammate Ryan McMillan back again in the World Tour. Very, very impressive, as I mentioned earlier, at the bend. Just over a month ago now, believe it or not, was Josh Buchan, former TCR Australia champion, of course. Very much knows how to pedal a TCR car, and delighted to see the affable young man back again in TCR competition. So far, so good for Buchan in 6th. Teammate Ryan McMillan. Have a look down the time and stream. Where is Ryan? 13th so far, 2.3 seconds away from the ultimate pace. So, bit of work to do for McMillan. But 10 minutes and 40 seconds left in which to do it. Momentarily lull descends upon the Inje Speedium racetrack then. Gabriele Tarquini watching on with great interest to the rear corner of the Hyundai Elantra. What is Gabriele, his experienced eye, what has he spotted on Norbert Miklas's car? The likes of you and I cannot see. Back to that one. We take our first look at Benny Santoso in the number 56. Again, another one of our new drivers, the Z-Speed N-Mass driver. Great to have him here in the TCR Europe field. First time we've been alongside TCR Asia. He currently sits in 2nd position in the TCR Asia driver standings. So Santoso having a good season in 2025. He'll be hoping to carry that form over into a competitive showing against what one could argue best TCR touring car drivers anywhere in the world. You can be good. The 3 wheels on your wagon ain't going to help whatsoever. This does look like a little bit of trouble for the Lincoln Co. Cyan Racing team. Work very much underway in the rear quarter of Jan Elishay's machine. Thank you very much, Eve, for picking up the name of the driver that I missed first time around. So Elishay in some kind of strife. Let's remember, this is the driver that came into this weekend with a commanding lead at the top of the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour standings. Okay, I admit, 36 points is far from commanding. You've got to add some drama somewhere, surely. Elishay, 4th position, so it's been a good session thus far. But whatever dramas have befallen the rear quarter of the Lincoln Co, hopefully for the Frenchman, they can get that one fixed in due course and get back out onto the racetrack. So having a quick look there, somebody had their own adventures in the back of shot. Didn't pick up who that was, but this is Che Yongji Wei-on who we're looking at this moment in time. I think it is, yes it is. And let's remember, this car has had an engine change of all kinds of dramas over the course of free practice 2, working till 2 a.m. to get that car repaired this morning. Fantastic, absolutely fabulous stuff by the team to get that up and running again. Unfortunately. Oh no, I tell a lie, my apologies, sorry, that's Andy Lang that had the dramas in the Eurasian Motorsports Elantra, my mistake. An actuator on the turbo. It took until 2 a.m. to get repaired. Great work from all concerned. Great work as well from the team at a rally and comp, an SP competition. That car's back out again. New boots on the wagon. Car number 107, one off. And I'm gonna put my neck on the block here and say this: one of the most impressive new drivers in 2025 is Aurelien Comte. Been mighty this season, hasn't he? Already got a victory, and it's a very small team, SP competition, in comparison to some others. Great stuff from Aurelien Comte. There is Andy Yang that we're looking at there. As mentioned earlier, the Eurasian Motorsports team working till the early hours of the morning to get that car up and running. So far for Lang, he's 22nd position, no real representative time on the board. The car is out there and circulating, so hopefully whatever gremlins may or may not be under the hood can get resolved before the checkered flag waves on this first part of qualification here for the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour, rounds number 13, 14 and 15 here at the Inje Speedium. Jan Elishay fans collectively take a sigh of relief. It does look like the number 168, whatever gremlins will befall in the rear left of that car, have been resolved. And Elishay just waiting for a gap in traffic to be sent back out again and continue his qualifying session in pit lane, as you can rightly see on your screen. The 4th position on the timing screens, well and truly in contention to make it through into that Q2. A little bit more for Elishay about making sure the car is perfectly fit and raring to go before said Q2 session, as Nacho Montenegro almost collects Sean Chang in the RevX Racing machine. Changlo just about avoids being collected. Montenegro, I'm sure the time in tower will reflect that bit of traffic, and so it does. 12th quickest for the Argentinian driver, and very, very squirrely indeed for the run down into Q1. Nice bit of car control there to not cause too many dramas for the Argentinian, and not too many dramas for Jan Elishay. Back on his merry way again. Back out into the qualifying session with just a dip under 6 minutes left to go. Diego Moran, first time we get to see the Ecuadorian driver racing for the DM23 Ecuador Racing Squad in the Type R FL5. Moran currently sitting in an impressive 17th position in the timing tower. He's done a bad job at all. Just 300th of a second needed to move him inside the top 12. Another Nicholas in the 105. Oh, come back to that one. Dewa is off. That is the 381. That is another one of the Eurasia Motorsports machine. Reinbert Dewa, Philippines driver. Doesn't look like his session is going to continue any further. Down there in 21st position. Looks like he's stranded out on the racetrack, so that's a real shame. Can he get the car up and running again? That doesn't look like a Hyundai Elantra and TCR that's likely to be going anywhere anytime soon. And that may well put a temporary halt in proceedings here in this Q1 session with 4 minutes left on the clock. We have a car stranded at the side of the racetrack. Esteban Gurrieri is your quickest driver, and almost as inevitable thing in an inevitable day, the red flag has been waved. Session has been brought to a halt as we look to recover Ryan Burt-Dewars. Eurasia Motorsports Hyundai Elantra stranded at the side of the track. We don't know exactly what happened. We know what the end result is. A session stoppage, 4 minutes and 46 seconds left on the clock. It will be restarted. We will pick up where we left off. But for Esteban Guerrieri, it's advantage the Argentinian driver by an incredible 7.5 tenths of a second from Ted Bjork. That's the kind of gap you don't see in touring cars very often at all. And I dare say a lot of it is courtesy of the wet weather, trying to find your way around this Inje Speedium circuit. That is a very, very, very impressive performance indeed for Esteban Guerrieri. As you can see then, the Hyundai still at the side of the racetrack, no snatch vehicles in position just yet. And of course, a bit of rain, a little bit of grass. I'm from England, I know what that one means. It means you are going to get yourself stuck if you try and drive on it. So hopefully that doesn't happen here, and they can get that car up and running again very, very soon indeed. That's the BRC squad casting an eye over Norbert Miklas's machine. Some kind of dramas at the rear of the car, it seems. A little bit more work than perhaps the reigning champion would be comfortable with at this stage in qualifying. And whatever they're doing, let's hope for them it finds a little bit of speed, because Norby down there in 14th position, that is not what the Hungarian driver will be looking for, especially when you consider teammate Miklav Kona is all the way up in 5th place and a good 1.4 seconds ahead of Mikulis. So I dare say we perhaps got a little bit more pace still to be seen by car number 105. Santiago Urrutia, he's had a decent session, hasn't he, as well? Quite quietly snuck himself up in a 3rd place. Yes, the gaps are artificially large at this moment in time, I think it's fair to say. But let's remember, name of the game in Q1 is to make it into Q2 that follows straight after this session. Get inside that top 10, and then you can have the fight for pole position. Currently, the driver on said bubble will be Janui Park, making his debut in the World Tour this weekend. Janui, TCR Europe driver in 2025 for the Solite Indigo Racing team. He's currently the last driver that is due to make it through into Q2. Big names not yet in Q2. Nesta Girolami in 11th, Nacho Montenegro in 12th, Dusan Borkovic with the problems that we saw earlier have not affected the big Serbian too much. He's in 13th, just ahead of Mikulis. Ryan McMillan in 15th as well, another one of the big names that you could argue on a good day should definitely be flirting with that top 10 position. And there we go. Great work for the marshals here in South Korea, getting that stranded car out of harm's way very, very quickly indeed. And as I like to do whenever the opportunity presents itself, is give a big, big thank you to marshals all around the world for the amazing work that they do. I often say it, and no truer words can be spoken. We couldn't do what we do if they don't do what they do out on track. So big, 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 big thank you to marshals, past, present and future, for the wonderful work you do to keep this show on the road, keep us entertained in the wee small hours of the morning. Over here. There is the Solite Indigo Racing squad, right on cue. Johnson Park in the 97, Janui Park in the 87, no family relation. Both drivers mightily impressive, raced in Italy for a couple of seasons prior and took victories, and then the same in TCR Europe. Right, while we're under red flag conditions, I've got a good idea. Yeah, let's head down to pit lane and have a quick word with our very own Alex Legui.
Pepe, if I may just jump in and have a quick word. Sorry, you guys go. Hold that thought. Quick word, Pepe. Just what sort of information are you getting back? It's looking strong so far.
Well, it's a new condition for everybody. We know that Esteban is good in the rain, so I think he picked up faster the pace. And now we're just trying to see if it's already possible to put the slicks on or not. But I think it's too wet still.
What sort of information or feedback do you get from Esteban during qualifying?
Well, he feels comfortable. I think he found it's a new track for everybody. Nobody has a test here. So I think he found something, because the difference is quite big with the other ones.
Good. Okay, Pepe, long may it continue. Gracias.
There we go then, Pepe Oriola down on the grid, suggesting it's perhaps still a little bit too wet for slick tyres in this qualifying session. Now that's going to be some interesting learnings for our drivers. I pose the question to you, dear viewer at home. You're one of these drivers, you're outside the top 10, and you've got about 4 3/4 of a minute in which to find a whole load of pace that you've not had in this qualifying session. The question is, do you gamble on those slick tyres in the hope that the circuit comes back to you before the checkered flag waves? I would argue, if you're well outside that top 10, you'd give it a go. Very, very easy for me to say behind a microphone. Less simple when you're behind a very powerful TCR touring car on a track that's got a whole host of undulations and corners that would just love to spit you at the scenery. We'll keep our eye on, I'll keep an eye on the pit lane to see if anybody is elected to go for those Kumho slick tyres. It's going to be a fascinating choice if they have. We'll watch the timing screens with a weathered eye to see if anybody's lighting them up in this final 4 minutes. There'll be about enough time to get out there and do 1, maybe 2 laps if you're at the head of the queue. And I don't think Esteban Guerrieri, despite the significant 7.5 tenths of a second gap, will be feeling particularly comfortable at this stage. In wet qualifying sessions, you know as well as I, sometimes the deficit between the start and the end of the session can be in the multitudes of seconds. When it's wet, you get on the racetrack and you lap as hard as you can for as long as you can, and just hope you've got the right timing there. Aurelien Comte's hoping for the right timing. He's holding off as long as possible for a bit of clear racetrack, with the aim to be the last man over the line, and theoretically at least, for the best of the weather conditions in this final qualification qualification action of Q1, this 2-part qualification. Let's ride on board then. In a steady lap out of pit lane with Santiago Urrutia, just try and assess these weather conditions for ourselves. Of course, far, far away from full racing pace. I don't know about you good people at home. That looks pretty dry to me. Santiago Urrutia might well be thinking the same thing. Still some spray kicking off at the rear of the cars, but we are definitely edging closer towards that transition period between wet and slick tyres. The question is, do we have time to get slick tyres on the car? Do you have time to get heat in those Kumho slicks to take advantage of it? I don't think we're going to have it in Q1. The Q2 could be a very different proposition indeed. Urrutia then starts his flying lap. There is the Uruguayan driver. There is car number 112. Currently third quickest as things stand. He would dearly love, with the 29-year-old, another pole position to his name. Will be very, very enthusiastic, Will Santiago, kick-starting his championship charge up to 4th in the standings coming into this one. 225 points to his name, 18 away from teammate Ted Bjork, and crucially 71 away from championship leader Jan Erlichey at the head of the pack. There's a bit of team play thinking there as well for the Cyan Racing Lincoln Co squad. For Santiago Urrutia, if you keep losing points to your teammate, you will inevitably swing against you the pendulum of having to play the team games. With Urrutia, big points on offer, close that gap down, keep himself in the conversation for the Drivers' Championship, just like this man, Norbert Miklis, is trying to do. It's not been the season that our reigning double champion would have hoped for coming in to 2025. The bare facts of it all do suggest it's been a good year. He's had a pole position, he's had 2 race victories. The highs have been high, but the lows have been low for Norbert Miklis. It's a big ask coming in now to the final, to the sunset of this campaign. 98 points away from Jan Erlichey. But if I've learnt anything in my lifelong passion for touring car racing, the one thing I do know for sure is you do not discount Norbert Miklis until it is mathematically impossible for him to make a comeback. And just look how hard he's pushing out there on the racetrack. The 105 senses blood in the water, smells an opportunity to move himself up from a very disappointing position so far in qualifying. Teammate Mikel Azcona's up there in 5th. We know the car is quick. Santiago Urrutia off camera has just moved up into 2nd position. But the big question is, can Norby do anything about getting into the top 10? 25 seconds left on the clock. This lap is not going to be good enough. but he will have time to start another. This is make or break now for Norbert Miklis in car number 105, still in 14th position, and with time on the clock for just one final flyer to get into that top 10. Right behind him, his teammate Bebu Girolami as well. Girolami on a charge of his own, currently in 11th position, will also not make it through as Josh Buchan sets a dynamite lap time, a 1 minute 52.909, good enough for 4th quickest time. Great performance once again from the Australian driver. As we're looking at Dusan Borkovic in a little bit of strife there as the I-30 behind, just getting in the way of the Serbian driver. Borkovic has work to do. 13th position, Janui Park has completed his qualifying. He's made it through as things stand in the Solar Indigo racing machine, but the young 20-year-old Korean driver is definitely under pressure. Several big names, several Kumho FIA TCR World Tour regulars are currently behind the Solar Indigo racing machine. So Park under pressure, Miklis under an entirely different kind of pressure. Horrendous first sector, 1.8 seconds away from the pace. This is not looking good for Norby. In fact, if anything, there's a danger. The Hungarian might be holding up teammate Girolami behind. It is all slipping away from Norbert Miklis in this qualifying session. A final few corners to go, 3.5 seconds. Ain't gonna do it in that kind of lap time. Norby, unless it is a monster final few corners, is not going to make it through into Q2, and at best will start in 14th position for both races. We'll watch this lap through to the conclusion. Girolami behind as well, keeping a watching brief, but the wince on Gabriele Tarquini's face tells you all you need to know. The Hyundai Elantra N the Hyundai Elantra N EV TCR, brand new homologation for this weekend on home soil at the Hyundai N Festival, and their star driver Norbert Miklis can do no better than 14th position in qualification, and another big name, Nestor Girolami, down there in 11th. Nacho Montenegro also failing to make it through to that top 10 for Q2. Janui Park then and Johnson Park on debut in the World Tour on home soil, and 9th and 10th positions. What a performance from both of those drivers. Absolutely incredible stuff. Janui just finishing his session there by the skin of his teeth ahead of Nestor Girolami. There is Dusan Borkovic. His efforts for the day, valiant as they were just good enough for 13th position on his return to the World Tour, on his return to the wheel of a TCR car. That's a reasonably solid effort there from Dusan Borkovic, and that is an incredible effort there from the Soulline Indigo Racing squad. Fabulous, fabulous stuff. I've had the pleasure of spending the season with them in TCR Europe in 2025, and a great group of people they are indeed, and showing just how competitive they are with a double Q2 appearance and their first time of asking. Fantastic stuff as Norbert Miklis comes back in the pit lane. There is Dusan. The frown on his face as a man who's not particularly happy, but I think he's probably his own worst enemy sometimes in terms of his self-criticism. Dusan Borkovic, having been out of the car for a fair while, I think he should be fairly pleased with that effort. 13th, he's not where he comes to race in 13th position, but all things considered, that's a very, very solid performance.
The slow Hyundai was in front of me. I made a gap a couple of seconds. But then he was last sector driving slowly. I couldn't overtake him.
Okay, sorry about the language there, ladies and gentlemen. Every now and again, emotions run high in live sports and activity, but that was the polite version. Was Dusan Borkovic perhaps wondering if more space could have been given by the Hyundai i30 out on track? That must have been Lo Se Ho, of course, and the Evolve racing machine, the only i30, as far as I'm aware, that we've got in the field. Yes, haven't seen another one. Yeah, of course. So Lo Se Ho, Hong Kong driver, suffering the wrath of Dusan Borkovic. And I'm 6'5". Dusan makes me look small. So not a man you want to mess about with, it has to be said. But of course, 13th in this Q1 means that Borkovic will start 13th position for the first race of the day, unlike the usual TCR Europe, TCR Kumho FIA TCR World Tour qualifying format. As I mentioned at the top of the show, the grid for race 2 will be the top 10 reversed finishing positions from race 1. 11 on down will, of course, stay the same. So for Bokovic, not a normal weekend. All is not lost. Just like for that man, Norbert Mikulis. Not the qualifying in 14th that Norby was looking for, but he has an opportunity to move forward in the races. Right then, before Q2 starts, let's head down to Alex Legui, who's found Norbert Mikulis.
Norby, that was not a very easy qualifying session. Talk us through it.
Not very easy weekend so far, if I have to be honest. Somehow we are missing a lot of pace. Not really sure where this is coming from, but also in the drive we didn't really feel competitive yesterday. And if I'm very honest with you, I expected something like this today. Of course, you always hope for a miracle, but this is more or less the reality for us.
Looks like your teammate might be going out on a mix. What are your thoughts of the track conditions out there and whether it's going to change?
I think that there is a possibility that you will see slicks on front. Because with 10 cars in Q2, I'm quite sure that some will take the gamble to go on slicks, then to do some laps, bringing up the temperatures, and then hoping for some luck.
Hopefully it will play out from Mikel. Thank you, Norby.
Thank you very much, Alex Legui, and a very, very disappointed Norbert Mikulis there in pit lane, having to watch on in Q2 when quite rightfully I think he would have hoped to have been participating in this session himself. Interesting bit of insight there though from our reigning double champion in the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour. He thinks, just like me, eventually I've got one right, so I'm going to live off this one for quite some time. But he thinks the tyres may be a possibility in this Q2 session, or certainly a mix of tyres, which, unlike in Formula 1 and other forms of motor racing, we can mix our tyres in TCR Europe. You can have slicks on the front, wets on the back, or vice versa. Usually it is slicks on the front and wets on the back. That could be an interesting play. The way that you'll know that somebody's doing that one, unless you've got really good eyesight and can see it on the car, is, as Norbert Mikulis alluded to, they'll probably be going relatively slowly for about 7 minutes and a half, and then all of a sudden, bang, lap time, or they hope lap time will come out of seemingly nowhere. We're having a look at Jan Elische. He's good at finding lap time out of nowhere, isn't he? He's a very, very fast young man indeed, is Jan. It's very hard to believe, isn't it, that this guy's been around for so long, such a fresh-faced young driver. World Championships already in the bag. More race victories than I've had meals, more pole positions, more successes. Comes from a racing dynasty, such a family of massively accomplished racers. Uncle Ivan Muller, of course. I'm sure Eddie Turricar family well aware of Ivan Muller. And then his mum is Kathy Muller, of course, very successful in her own right as well. So it was almost destined that Jan Elische would be just as good as he is. And he continues to be an absolute standard setter on the World Tour stage, as can be evidenced by the fact that he leads the World Tour driver standings with 296 points coming into this qualifying session. But as I said before, and I'll say again, there are points on offer in qualifying, like it all over there. There are points on offer, so things will change at the end of this one. The big thing is, will it change for or against Jan Elische? In Jensen Park, we're having a look there. Solar Indigo Racing, special livery on the car for the final few race events of 2025, partnership collaboration with one of their sponsors. And I must say, that does look particularly attractive. Does the Hyundai Elantra. It's a car I'm particularly fond of anyway in touring car styles, but a good livery on there can make all the difference. As Jan Elische, an Apex can make all the difference. Not quite able to find it on this occasion for Jan. Will have an impact on his lap times. Just goes to show, doesn't it? The grip out there. It may look a little bit drier, but it's still incredibly greasy indeed out on the racing surface. And even with wet tyres or combinations of slicks and wets, it's very, very difficult to put the power to the road and get the car on the line you want it to be. 152.470 then for Elische, 151.698 for Ted Bjork. I see you're 52 and I raise you by almost a second. Good first lap out of the blocks then for the Swedish driver Ted Bjork. He's our quickest driver of all. Elische and Marcin Hua, only drivers yet to set a time, although for Ma, Don't think that was quite as representative as you would have expected. Chidui Park briefly entertains timing screens and then drops down again as Aurelian Comte sets a lap time. 2.9 seconds away though, so again, that does suggest one of two things to me for Aurelian Comte and the Cooper at Leon VZ TCR. Either it wasn't an ideal lap on that occasion, or he's going to mix the tyres and is bringing those up into temperature. This could be interesting. Santiago Urrutia has decided whatever choices they made at the start of the session don't feel appropriate anymore. The Uruguayan drivers in pit lane. Let's have a look what boots are applied to that car before he goes back out again as we pick up Ted Bjork, fastest of all so far. Gaffer tape on the front of the car, as is touring car and motor racing style. You can't fix it with gaffer tape and a hammer. It's probably not able to be fixed. It's certainly not hindering Ted's progress thus far. 1 minute 51.698 is the quickest time. For a bit of reference, in free practice 2 under dry conditions, it was 140.9. So over 10 seconds is the difference for these greasy conditions for these touring car drivers. And when you look at that statistic, slick tyres don't quite feel as close as they once did, do they? There is Santiago Urrutia. I don't know about your screen resolution. In my view, doesn't give me any indication of the boots on that car. Can't quite tell from that shot on Santiago. But with 4 minutes left on the clock, we've had a lot of time to do anything about teammate Ted Bjork at the head of the pack. Three minutes, 50 seconds on the clock. The most cautious outlap you could possibly imagine. Santiago Urrutia, like somebody's glued eggs onto those tyres. Very, very steady. Doesn't want to take the life out of them. Bringing them up in a pre-prescribed plan that would have been arranged by him and the team as Mikel Azcona adventures to the outside of the racing line. Good catch there. Nice car control from the Spanish driver. Azcona, though, sideways. This is not the 1970s, sadly. And sideways is not the fastest way to drive a racing car nowadays, unfortunately. So Azcona perhaps will need to go again. Cyan Racing Lincoln Co. in pit lane. Some fresh wet tyres for the front of Marcin Kwar's machine. Very quick indeed about this one. Only 3 minutes left on the clock. There's a fresh Kumho wet tyre on the 155 mark. Good qualifying thus far in 4th position. He's behind 2 of his teammates as things stand. He's still ahead of Santiago Urrutia, who is yet to set a competitive time. Neither has Josh Buchan. Josh still not yet out there with a time on the board. Not quite sure actually what's happening to Josh's car. Hopefully we'll find that one out. So all the Lincoln Co's are on full wet tyres. I'm hearing from Alex Legui. Thank you very much for this one. Mikel and Santi went out on mixed. Santi's now on full wets. Mikel is still on mixed tyres, and Alex has not spotted anybody else who has taken mixed tyres. So thank you very much, Alex Legui, for the insight down there on pit lane. Big story of all this one is this man, Mikel Azcona, is on wet front tyres, slick rears. Let's have a look what that can do for the 196. I'll tell you what it can do. It can make an entertaining driving experience that's perhaps at this moment in time not quite giving up the grip that he was hoping for. But just as Norby said, in the break between Q1 and Q2, he spent half of the session. No, you don't even spend half of the session. He spent 98% of the session getting the tyres in the window, and the last 2% going like the clappers to get a lap time out of the car. And that's exactly what Mikel's doing. Getting the car very lively underneath him, trying to get the car moving around underneath him to put some degradation, put some force through those tyres, get the temperature in to the slicks, try and hope that they give up that little bit more grip. And Josh Buchan, by the way, remember I said he's not set a competitive lap time yet? Well, look at that one for Josh. A 1 minute 52.239 puts him on a provisional front row of the grid. I'm impressed by Josh Buchan even. I was impressed 2 years ago when we went to Australia and raced alongside the TCR Australia grid at Bathurst and at Sydney Motorsports Park. In that time, between the last time we were with Australia and when we came back last month, it just seems like this man has got faster and faster and more confident. He was electric the last race at the Bend. As I mentioned previously, a 4th and a 5th position. Absolutely looking like he belonged at the head of the pack. Well, a bit more confidence, a bit more time behind the wheel, and Buchan is very much at the sharpest of sharp ends of the field. Johnson Park and Janui Park in pit lane. Their day is done. 6th and 8th places respectively for now. Ted Bjork still circulating at the head of the pack on those wet tyres. Gets well and truly out of the way of Esteban Gurrieri. Great bit of driving there. Fair driving from Ted Bjork. Gurrieri still to set a time that is good, is better than 4th position. 2 seconds away from the pace. But there is certainly opportunity to move forward in these final few moments. The last of the drivers then out of the racetrack. The checkered flag waves. They can complete their lap, but who is on a quick one? Who's moving forward? Ted Bjork is provisionally on pole position for now. Josh Buchan fancies his chances. Half a tenth, half a second behind in 2nd position. Jan Erlichey, can we find more pace from the Frenchman? He may be carrying 30 kilos of compensation weight, but Erlichey never, ever, ever to be discounted. Marcin Hua going a little bit faster in the middle sector, currently in 5th position for the Chinese driver. How he would dearly love to improve on that one in qualification. Santiago Urrutia, not spoken about him, has yet to set a time down there in 10th. Could the Uruguayan driver find something and snatch away places right at the very death? This is Erlichey, 9/10 of a second down in the 2nd sector. That's not going to be enough to improve. He's only 7/10 of a second away from the ultimate pace as things stand. Erlichey not trending towards a faster time. Marcin Hua good in sector 2 as well. A second away from the ultimate pace, but that is enough to move him up to the head of the 2nd row of the grid if he can keep it through the final sector. Aurelien Comte in 7th position, also trending to improve as things stand. There is Santi in sector 2, 1.3 away from the pace, but still improving. Mar into 4th position, 1.65 seconds away from Ted Bjork. Bjork, what a lap from the Swedish driver. There goes Comte. He does move up, in fact, to 6th position, so that's good stuff from the French driver in the French team. At the back of your shot, there is the Lincoln Co. Cyan Racing Machine. Santiago Urrutia, what can he do at the death? 5th place for the Uruguayan. Good performance there under the most intense of pressures. Build himself into the top 5. 3rd row of the grid for race number 1. You can do some damage from there, but all eyes are on one driver only. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, raise your cap to Mr. Ted Bjork. That was quite the qualifying effort from the Swedish driver. There we go, the signature love heart to the fans watching at home. And one thing's for sure, we loved that lap. 5.5 tenths quicker than Josh Buchan. A dominant performance for the 111. And Ted Bjork takes his first pole position of 2025 and keeps the trend going of a new pole sitter at each and every round that we have visited in the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour. Slaps on the back, handshakes for the team, but Ted Bjork and the Lincoln Co. Cyan Racing team know better than anybody. That is only a small percentage of the battle complete. We're going to be in racing action a little bit later on this afternoon, so celebrations will be muted, and almost immediately all eyes will be focused on getting ready to go motor racing. But for now, Ted Bjork can rightly celebrate because that was a pole position lap and a half. Beautiful performance in difficult conditions here in Korea. Beautiful stuff then, Ted. Having to get a bit of a trot on because he needs to take his pole position award from Marcello Lotte. And let's have a look then at the provisional results for qualification here at Inje Speedium in South Korea. Ted Bjork from Josh Buchan is your front row of the grid. Jan Erlichey and Marcin Hua making an all Lincoln Co. Cyan Racing row 2. Santiago Urrutia and Esteban Gurrieri of 5th and 6th. Good recovery from Gurrieri at the end. Aurelien Comte and Johnson Park 7th and 8th positions provisionally for race number 1. Janui Park and Mikael Athkona round out your top 10 drivers and the completion of this Q2 qualification session. The final qualification action of the weekend here ahead of the immediate start for round number 13 of the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour. They'll take place at 15:45 local time or 6:45 in the morning UTC. Well, we had rain. We hoped for a bit of a topsy-turvy grid, but actually, having a look at that one, at the end of the day, that seems about par for the course for the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour field. A big shout out for Johnson Park and Janui Park in 8th and 9th position. And here is the pole position award.
Oh. Another pen?
It's going to come, no problem.
Do you have another one and I'll get it going?
A little bit of pen trouble there for WSC's Marcello Lotti, of course, and Marcello in a few moments' time will be handing out the pole position trophy award to Ted Bjork. First one, as I mentioned, that he's gathered for himself this season. And if you're going to get pole, what a great way to do it. What a dominant performance there for Ted Bjork. Over half a second, as we mentioned, ahead of the next car. And here we go, finally. Time for the trophy and the award from Marcello Lotti, the fastest driver of the day, the one and only Ted Bjork.
This is your fantastic lap time. Well done.
Fantastic. I think a very apt word to sum up that performance from Ted Bjork. And in fact, let's spoil this celebration by throwing a camera and a microphone in front of his face. Let's talk to our new pole position winner.
Well, strategy paid off, certainly for you, Ted Bjork. It didn't look easy out there. Well done.
It was not easy. First time on the track with rain tires for everybody. Everybody was fighting and trying to adjust the car as fast as possible, but I'm really happy to be standing on top.
Kumho FIA TCR pole goes to you. It's going to be the best place for you to have that pole position as well.
Yeah, but you know, the points, as we're getting to the end of the season, all the points are so crucial, and yeah, feels really good.
Good. Congratulations, Ted. Well done. Good start.
And a very, very good point by Ted Bjork. All the points on offer need to be hoovered up if he's got any aspiration to take the 2025 Kumho FIA TCR World Tour Drivers' Championship. And let's have a look at said Drivers' Championship after that qualification. Jan Elishay is still our points leader, 42 ahead now of Esteban Gurrieri. Ted Bjork up there in 3rd position. That one's helped him out no end. He came into this one on 243. He's now got 258 points. Santiago Urrutia in 4th. But it's all going to change because we're going to go motor racing for the first time this afternoon. 10:35 local, 6:45 UTC. Thank you all for watching this wonderfully exciting qualifying session. From myself, Paul Jeffrey, and the whole team, I look forward to seeing you all again a little bit later on this afternoon for Race 1.